So welcome everyone to this NAMI Greater Cleveland webinar, Green is Good for You, the mental health benefits of nature. We are joined tonight by two naturalists from the Cleveland Metroparks who will be doing an excellent in-depth presentation about natural resources that are in our community and how they can become part of your mental health wellness routine. I will allow our two presenters to introduce themselves shortly, but first I would like to begin just with a very brief overview of NAMI Greater Cleveland, our programs and services. For those of you that are new to NAMI, this will be new information, but for many of you, this is probably familiar. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It is the largest grassroots mental health organization of its kind. It is represented by local affiliates in all 50 states. And the work of NAMI Greater Cleveland is focused on improving the quality of life for individuals with mental illness and their family members through support, education, information and referral, and advocacy. We offer support groups for individuals with mental illness and for their family members. We have classes such as peer-to-peer and family-to-family for folks with mental illness and their families. We do periodic community education, like presentations like this one that you are watching tonight. We have a helpline that is available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a great resource for anyone who is needing assistance with understanding your options for treatment in Cuyahoga County, as well as other community resources. We have a commitment to supporting advocacy on national and state levels, ensuring better access to mental health services, more humane options, and securing greater funding for mental health at the state and national levels. So that is NAMI Greater Cleveland. Just a few housekeeping notes. We're a smaller group tonight. Looks like we've got 7 people plus the 3 of us presenting. If you have questions during this presentation, please utilize the chat. I will be monitoring the chat throughout this presentation, excuse me, and we'll be answering our questions live. I think that we can take questions during the presentation instead of waiting until the end. So please use the chat as needed. We'll be hearing from Min first, who will be talking about the Metroparks more broadly, as well as health benefits of nature in general. And then we'll be hearing a more personal story of the outdoors and nature being part of one's wellness plan from Beth. So I think that maybe what we'll do is I will turn it over to Min and Beth to maybe just very briefly, you can both introduce yourselves, and then we will get into the first segment of this presentation.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks so much for inviting Beth and I to speak with you on a topic that's very near and dear to both of our hearts. My name is Min, and I'm the center manager at Brecksville Nature Center. And for a long time, just briefly, I knew that I felt better when I was out in nature. I felt so much better, and I knew that that was good for my soul. And it turns out that there is research backing that up. And now I wanted to introduce my colleague, Beth Joay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beth. I'm a naturalist over at North Chagrin Nature Center. And like Min, I knew I felt better when I was outside. And I followed a career path that brought me outside. And that's what part of my presentation will be after Min speaks today, is to kind of tell you some tangible things that I do as a nervous adult, ways that being outdoors helps me with any issues like that I have.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, thank you.
And with that, we can go ahead and start. And, green is good for you, the mental health benefits of nature. And just to give you a little bit of a structure, I'll be speaking for about a half hour, and then Beth will speak after that. And there is a growing body of work that shows that nature is good for you. And I'll talk a little bit about that from all over the world. And I will also talk about some of the resources in Cleveland Metroparks and also take you through the seasons just to show you that there's something to do even in the winter in Cleveland Metroparks. And the wonderful thing about nature is nature meets you where you're at. So you can come as you are, you can be wherever you're at, and nature will accept you. And that's one thing that I've always loved about nature. Now, even though we know that nature is good for you, did you know that by 2030, 75% of the world's population is moving into an urban area? And a shocking fact is that most of our time is spent indoors. On the average, 90% of an individual's time is spent indoors. So when you think about that, what are people doing? What am I doing? So I made this little graph here of all the things I could think of that I do inside, and the list is extensive, enough to spend 90% of your time inside. And not to say that any of these things are negative, it's just that it needs to be more in balance. So if I'm spending 90% of my time inside doing all of these things, if you think about balance, whether it be 60-40, 70-30, sometimes you think, you know what, I can do better. I can spend a little bit more time outside, especially knowing all the health benefits of nature, which I'll go into more of in a little bit. So I grew up in the 1980s, and I remember that my mom would say, you know what, go outside and I'll see you around dinner time. And did you know that since the 1980s, non-work screen consumption has been up 450%. That's due to all the internet, the social media, and online shopping. Again, not bad things, it's just moderation, right? And did you know that individuals report, 40% report watching over 2 hours of TV per day? And I'm curious, for those of you in the audience, feel free to type in the chat. Do you watch about 2 hours of TV per day? I mean, that means some people watch more than 2 hours of TV per day. So again, not a bad, just moderation, right? So watch your balance in terms of that. So even though people know that nature is good for you, sometimes they don't necessarily do it, right? There's so many things to do inside. Now, the Japanese government has looked at the health benefits of nature, and it's called Shinrin-yoku in Japanese. Roughly translated, it's forest bathing. And that doesn't mean I'm going outside with soap and water to bathe in the forest. That's not what it means at all. What it means is you're outside in nature and you're soaking up what's around you. You're soaking up the forest, you're soaking up the sun, and enjoying nature. And what the government found is, so they started this research in the 1980s. So remember when I was out growing up in the 1980s. And what they found was that there are physiological changes with people who are outside for a long period of time, which meaning at least 2 hours per week. And they found such important positive physiological changes, like an increase in immunity, that what the Japanese government did was they incorporated it into their country's health program. And today there are 48 official forest therapy trails in Japan, which I love. So they practice the Shinrin-yoku, the forest bathing, in their lives. And I think that's wonderful. So the Japanese aren't the only folks that are studying the benefits of nature, but the West is also studying the benefits of nature. There's a wonderful book called The Nature Fix by Florence Williams, which outlines a lot of the health benefits, including vitamin D, which is said to improve your immune health and your bone health. I don't know about you, but I went to my doctor recently and she told me I was low on vitamin D and that I could get it in a supplement. But guess what? You can also get it by going outside and you can soak it up by the sun. So what they found, a lot of this research, so I summarized a lot of the research, that after 2 hours in nature per week, people have found a decreased blood pressure, less stress, reduced feelings of isolation, promoted calm and lifted mood. And they did these studies on all kinds of groups, including an outward bound research study in Seattle for veterans suffering PTSD. They studied outdoor schools for students with attention deficit disorder, and they found that people in the outdoors experience these positive physiological changes. So I did a list of things that I do outside, and here are some of the activities. If you think, oh, but what do I do when I go outside? Here's some things that you can do, like hiking and golfing and birding. Again, nature meets you where you're at. So if you just want to sit next to a tree and look at the sun, you could do that. If you want to learn how to identify all kinds of different birds, you can do that. So whatever you are interested in, think about what your passions are, and there's some way for you to do it in Cleveland Metroparks. Promise you that. So in the next section here, I'm going to talk a little bit about our Emerald Necklace and our Cleveland Metroparks, and hey, okay, nature is good for you, but what do I do and where do I go? And Cleveland Metroparks forms the Emerald Necklace. You can see that there is a green necklace around Cuyahoga County with different park systems, all the way from the west side to east side to south side. And I'll go through some of the highlights in the Emerald Necklace, Cleveland Metroparks for you. This is Cleveland Metroparks by the numbers. We have 18 park reservations. We have over 300 miles of trail. We have more than 24,000 acres and 5 nature centers. And it's free. It's all free. So you can go and visit. The nature centers are free. Most of our programming is also free, which is a wonderful thing. Now, we mentioned that there are over 300 miles of trails. So it can be anything from a steep trail to an accessible trail to an all-purpose trail, which is our paved trails, and to the bridle trails if you like horse riding. And here's a trail going to Deerlet Cave, which is in Brecksville Reservation. You can go off the beaten path as well. And you can find trails that are I have a trail here at Brecksville Reservation that's less than a half mile, to trails that are well over 6 miles. So you can go as little or as long as you want. And there's so many different activities to do in Cleveland Metroparks. So one thing that I did during the COVID-19 year was a lot of bird watching outside my window. So that's something where I would just open the window up. I'm halfway outside and I can see the birds. And if you like to just enjoy them, you can, or if you really want to learn what bird is which, we have naturalists that are here for you to do some free guided bird programs. You can just sign up on our website or look at the brand new app, Find Your Trails app, which lists the programs really nicely. Now, if you're a biker, there are a ton of bike trails. There's the Towpath Trail that goes through Ohio and Erie Canal Reservation. And there are mountain bike trails if you'd like to go off the beaten path again at Ohio and Erie Canal and Millstream Run Reservation and Bedford Reservation as well. And if you like water sports, you can go paddle boarding. And if you don't know if you like that or not, you can do a rental at the Hinckley Lake Boathouse. And if you like golf, we have 8 golf courses in Cleveland Metroparks. Several, there's one on the east side, Manakiki, several in central like Washington and Shawnee Hills. In the south, we have Seneca and Sleepy Hollow. And out west, we have Big Mat, Little Mat, and Mastic Woods. So 8 golf courses within Cleveland Metroparks. Just a different way to get outside and enjoy the outdoors. And another way, some folks like fishing, and we have 14 different fishing areas in Cleveland Metroparks as well. You do need a fishing license if you're over the age of 16, and there are a wide variety of fish to be caught out there, like the largemouth bass, the bluegill, and there are catfish out there. And again, if you just want to go for a walk in any of our parks, it's free and get some fresh air, right? And the next thing we're going to do is just highlight some of the areas in Cleveland Metroparks. So depending on whether or not you live, well, I'm in the south side here, so we're near Brecksville and Hinckley. Just to show you, Brecksville is one of the largest reservations in Cleveland Metroparks. It's over 4,000 acres, and it has some interesting history in that we have some of the oldest buildings in Cleveland Metroparks. So for example, this shelter over that you see, it's the Overlook Shelter, was built in the 1930s. And we also have the oldest picnic shelter in Cleveland Metroparks called the Harriet Keeler Picnic Shelter House, built in 1928. And this is the nature center I work out of. This is Brecksville Nature Center. It is the oldest nature center out of the 5, built in 1939. And it's on the list of National Historic Sites. It's the only remaining trailside museum remaining. So back in the day, they built 3 nature centers, and this is the only one left standing. And the other ones that you see now are newer. Now down south in Hinckley, we've got Whip's Ledges and Warden's Ledges. And if you want to talk about history, these rocks were formed over 250 million years ago. And they are beautiful rock formations at the ledges. So definitely worth checking out. Also famous for Buzzard Day down in Hinckley there. And Hinckley's also famous for Hinckley Lake, where people do report that water and forests are very soothing. So that water, including creeks and ocean waves, are #1 in surveys of soundscapes that really soothe people. So I wanted to put Hinckley Lake in there because a friend of mine actually this past week, she said to me, give me a lake that I can go to. I need a lake today. So I offered up Hinckley Lake. It is beautiful. There is a trail that goes around, a 3.4-mile loop trail that goes around Hinckley Lake. And this is Beth's area, the east side, which is North Chagrin, South Chagrin, Euclid Beach, Villa Angela, and Acacia, and show you a few of the beautiful highlights. Now, this is where Beth works, the forest called A.B. Williams Memorial Woods. And this is a national natural landmark, which means that there are some old trees in this area. And you can tell from this photo. And when I say old trees, I mean, these are old growth trees, at least 250 years old or more. And there are 4 Moses Cleveland trees in this area. So if you just want to go somewhere and sit by a big tree, North Chagrin is a good place to go. An old growth beech maple forest, 65 acres. It's fabulous. And look at this little boardwalk that goes through it. And if that wasn't enough for you, right around the corner from there, they have live owls, because recently they built a brand new aviary. This is a barred owl, the owl that usually sings, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" And here's the aviary right behind North Chagrin Nature Center with that exhibit. It's fabulous. It's really great. And outside of North Chagrin Nature Center, there's a beautiful boardwalk that goes across the Sanctuary Marsh and Sunset Pond area. That's stunning. And also in North Chagrin is the Squires Castle, which actually was built as a gatehouse, if you can believe it. It was built in the 1890s by Standard Oil executive Fergus Squire. And this was only intended to be the gatekeeper's lodge. He was going to build another building right behind it. It became Cleveland Metroparks property in 1925. And today it's open to the public, and you can take a look at all of that history. So nature and history together at North Chagrin, it's a great combination there. And also on the east side, if you love the lake, and we're talking about a bigger lake like Lake Erie, Euclid Beach Park. Euclid Beach is a wonderful place. They have a brand new boardwalk over there, and you can see the signage pays homage to the Euclid Beach Park that was in function, operated for 75 years in that area from 1895 to 1969, which is amazing. Beautiful sunsets there. Now let's travel to the west side at Rocky River and Huntington Reservation. And Rocky River, one of the things that Rocky River Nature Center is famous for is Dunkleosteus. Dunkleosteus is a shark-eating fish, and the most complete fossil of Dunkleosteus from 350 million years ago was found in Rocky River and the banks and the cliffs of Rocky River just outside the Nature Center. The actual fossil is now at the Cleveland Natural History Museum, but you can get out to Rocky River itself and see the cliffs where this fossil was found. And if you're up for it, they've built the Fort Hill stairs. You can go up 150 stairs, and what a workout that is. And Beth knows I used to have to do it 3 or 4 times a day because I worked there. So it is a beautiful view in the fall, I will say. I take a look at it, it's stunning. It's one of my favorite places in the fall, 150 stairs. And if you like lakefront access on the west side, we have Huntington Beach over there on the west side as well. And it's stunning. They recently did some new upgrades, as you can see in this photograph. And as we're going on our short tour around Cleveland Metroparks, the lakefront parks, the Ohio and Erie Canalway Center, and West Creek, the Watershed Stewardship Center, we're talking north and central. I'll show you some photos there. I recently took my dad to the Cleveland sign at Upper Edgewater. He was amazed. He's like, this is a beautiful site. And you could see the Edgewater Beach House right behind it. And of course, the Cleveland skyline. Quintessential Cleveland right there. And there's the Towpath, which also links up to the Tiger Trails. There are over 87 miles of Towpath Trail going through different park systems. And now you can take it all the way to Wendy Park too. It's amazing with the different trails. And if you like biking, you can go miles. So we're going to move a little bit into the different seasons, some of the highlights of what you can see in Cleveland Metroparks. And this will be a whirlwind of the spring. And what I love about spring are spring wildflowers. And for those of you who love different seasons, your favorite things of spring, feel free to put them in the chat. But that's what I love about spring. And one thing about it, if you don't know your wildflowers and you really want to learn them, again, free naturalist-led programs through Cleveland Metroparks, they can tell you what flowers you're looking at. Usually April and May are good times to go. And summer is a wonderful time. I mean, I think of now as late summer, but what a great time to see milkweed, which are the pink flowers you see to your left, and various sunflowers, the monarch caterpillars, and these are all wonderful things you could see in a lot of the prairies well, we have a prairie in Brecksville, and this is the Tallgrass Prairie. This is what it looks like right now. We have a lot of wild sunflowers in the prairie now. The interesting thing about this Tallgrass Prairie that I have here right outside my window is that from 200 years ago, we only have less than 1% of tallgrass prairie left in the United States. And we have a little bit of it here. So it's so nice to go out and see the summer wildflowers in the prairie. Now, fall in love with fall. I think we all know why we love fall. Look at the colors. This is Hinckley Reservation. So stunning fall color. The other colors, as the daylight gets shorter, the other colors get a chance to shine. So here we've got some beautiful fall color. Get out in the fall. It's coming up soon and really stunning. Now, something else we are waiting on is the Monarch Migration, also happening sometime in September. Usually there's one day in September where all the monarchs fly from Canada and they land in Wendy Park and they stay overnight and then they fly away like magic. So in order to find out when that is, because we don't know when it is, the monarchs don't tell us, unfortunately, what we do is we put it out on our Cleveland Metroparks Facebook page. So definitely like it, and then you can see when is a good time to go to Wendy Park to see the Monarch Migration. That's coming up soon. So it's a very timely time. And a lot of folks say, but what about winter? What do we do in the winter time when there's snow? And I always say, you know what? In Cleveland, there's snow. So if you can't beat it, you might as well play in it. There's snowshoeing, there's cross-country skiing. There are a lot of opportunities to get outside with a naturalist. You can even go down the toboggan chutes in Millstream Run Reservation. And another wonderful time of year to go birding because the leaves are down and you can see the birds a lot better. And this is our northern cardinal, which is our Ohio State bird. And with that, I did want to wrap up my section here a little bit to say that green is good for you, and there's so many opportunities to play and to interact at Cleveland Metroparks. Again, nature meets you where you're at. You can come in with any skill level. You can, there's so many different activities to do out in Cleveland Metroparks that if you're not sure where to start, feel free to call us or any of the nature centers. Many of them are open 7 days a week now. And to give us a call and to say, you know what, I'm starting my nature journey. What do I do? Where do I go? And with that, I wanted to turn it over to my colleague, Beth.
Before that, I had a couple questions,
Sure.
Min. So this is for my own edification and maybe for that of other members of this audience. But so I love flowers. I love visiting places like botanical gardens and seeing the flowers in bloom. And I also love leaf peeping, as they call it in New England, viewing the fall foliage. But the problem I always have is I don't seem to know when the real peak is, the real peak of flowers being in bloom in the spring and the real peak of the leaves in the fall. So is there a particular month or time of within spring that I should be like, yes, this is my time to go see the flowers, or yes, this is my time to go see the fall leaves?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Matt. So when is peak season to go see all of these things? I will say in general, so things can change with climate, and if it's a little bit wet or a little bit more rain one year, it might shift a week, but generally the peak of spring. So we'll start with the spring. I'd say April is really good. I will say you can't go wrong with mid-April for spring wildflowers. I will say that. So usually around April, we do a lot of spring wildflower hikes. Okay? And in terms of fall, what the general week is generally the second week of October is a good time for fall color.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so often I've missed it. Like I missed my chance. You know, like I think of like going to the gardens in like June, and that's way too late for a lot of the flowers. I know that. And, you know, it's like with fall, you want to find that time when it's not too cold yet. But the leaves are still, you know, beautiful. So, okay, second week of October and mid-April. Thank you.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, I guess we can hand things over to Beth.
All right, thank you. Just to kind of echo what Min was saying, to kind of help answer your question too a little bit, Matt, follow us on social media. We have naturalists dedicated making posts about what's happening in our parks. So if there are some spectacular wildflowers or the fall colors are really popping in a certain point in one of the parks, there's going to be a post about it and telling you how to get there. So that's my plug. Follow us on social media, and you'll be able to get those answers. So Okay, so again, thank you, Min, for giving us a tour of the parks. That's spectacular. I told Min when we were practicing this, like, that is such good information. Like, I learned things about our park system that I didn't even know. So thank you so much. So then that leaves me talking to you all about what Matt called lived experiences that I've had kind of going through my own mental health plan and enjoying the outdoors. So I tried to kind of come up with a way to organize this to be able to chat with you all about. And I broke it up into 3 main areas that really apply to me. And for my introduction, when I said I was the nervous kid, anxiety is something that I deal with a lot. Get anxiety for ridiculous reasons. I've been doing this job for over 15 years. I got nervous before we turned the computer on tonight. Like, it's just gonna happen. It's who I am. I've got anxiety. Second, I get exhausted. And I don't mean tired. I mean exhausted. And that could be mentally, physically, emotionally, all of those things. And then finally, I know we talked a little bit about, last year, during COVID-19, when we weren't able to go places or do things that we were used to, I lost a little bit of lack of purpose. I wanted to know, like, more of where I was going with life. Did I make the right choices? And it really hit me kind of hard. So those are the 3 things that I kind of broke my talk up into tonight. And what I'm going to do is tell you how I approach each of those every day whenever it's bothering me outside. So the first one, anxiety. Maybe I've got too much energy. There's something in my head that I just can't, work through. I'm in overdrive. What I find is purposeful movement really helps me out. So Min, I did not confess to the 2+ hours of Netflix I may watch in a day or 2. But yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with all of you. I will binge Netflix after a rough day. It happens, and that's okay. But I know when anxiety is really starting to bother me, I need to get out and move. Purposeful movement, bilateral movement, so left, right of your body, will help you connect the illogical part of your brain, the part that's going, the sky is falling and you can't handle this, to the logical part that's like, no, you're okay, you can handle this. So I find doing like an easy walk around a paved path here. Maybe I'll walk that boardwalk you saw out here around North Chagrin. If I'm having a particularly challenging time and I know I'm just brink of tears and I'm just really, I've had it, I'm totally frazzled, I will try to find some big challenge to overcome. And so I will go find the most difficult trail to hike, that 6-mile trail Min was talking about. I'll go find that, try to climb to the top of the waterfall. I want to sweat, I want to be exhausted and tired when I'm done. Because overcoming a physical challenge will often help me overcome some of the mental blocks that I have as well. So that's what I do when I'm trying to get over, some anxiety issue. Don't forget those 150 steps over at Fort Hill. Those will also help you out. Okay, so then again, when I'm feeling kind of exhausted and I know I don't want to go out on a hike, but I know it'll make me feel better. All this other stuff on my mind. This is when I will do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. And some of you maybe already have this in your mental health toolkit. You may have tried it before. But what I would like to do is kind of go through that, do a little activity with you guys. So I did ask Min to leave this particular picture up. I love this picture of this prairie. We're going to go through this activity together. Yeah, it would be better if we were all in person, we were standing there in the prairie, but we're going to make it work online. We're going to make it work on Zoom. So everybody kind of relax a little bit, relax your shoulders, take a nice deep breath. And I want you to feel like you're in this picture. Step into this photo and I'm going to welcome you into the prairie. So 5 is where we're going to start. I want you to look around this photo and find 5 different things that you can see. And you can type them into the chat. You can say them out loud. You can just tell them to yourself. But find 5 different things you can see. Look up, down, and all around. Again, you're pretending like you're literally standing in there. Excellent. Thank you, Matt. All right, the next one is touch. Now we're down to 4. So again, you're standing in this picture, you're going to reach your arms out to the side. Maybe you don't have your shoes on, you're going to wiggle your toes down into the ground. What are 4 different things you can feel on your skin, you can touch? Maybe it's cool soil. Maybe it's the nice grass. Yeah, maybe it's dewy grass. If you ran your hands up those flowers, how would that feel on your hand? Would the petals be different from the leaves, from the stem? Yeah, oh yeah, the rocks underneath your toes on that pavement. That's a great one. Thank you, Judy. Excellent. Air. Oh, that's a good one too. That's a good one. All right, now we're going to move down to 3. And for this one, it's hearing. So what I like to suggest is close your eyes. Oh, wait, Zoom. We're in Zoom. No, you can't close your eyes. You got to look in the picture. What are 3 things you think you could hear in this photo? All I'm thinking about are birds. Min did a good job of showing us all those bird pictures. I know there's birds chirping out there. Maybe there's katydids going, crickets, the wind blowing through. There it is. Yep, the wind rustling through those long stems. Exactly. Very good. For 2, we're down to smell. So you take a deep breath through your nose. Hold it. And then release out. I definitely smell those flowers. I apologize if you have allergies and that is a triggering photo for you and you start sneezing. Birds, crickets. Yep, those are great, Judy. Thank you. One of my favorite smells whenever I do this activity is like if I'm in the forest, it's there it is. Yes, it's the earth. It's the decaying leaves and the mushrooms and the humus layer. I just love that smell. I can't really identify each little piece of it, but collectively, it's just how the forest smells to me. And then finally, we're down to 1, and this one's taste. And I will warn you all, please do not go out and chew on the flowers or eat things you don't know what they are in the park. But this could be as easy as licking your lips. Maybe you've been hiking and you've been sweating and you've got that salty sweat on your lips. I was kind of going over this with another coworker and I was like, how am I going to get these people to taste a picture? One of her favorite things to do is when she goes on hikes like this by herself, she brings a cup of tea. So maybe you have a favorite peppermint tea or chamomile tea or something like that you can bring with you. And it could be your special treat, the special thing that you take with you when you go do this. And you can connect that taste to this experience of being out in nature. Excellent. Thank you all for participating in that. That's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. And literally pick any of those pictures we just showed you, any of those spots Min showed you, from the Cleveland sign to the caves, to the waterfalls, to the prairies, all of those places would be great spots to do this activity. And then finally, actually, Min, I think if you can advance me 1 slide. Yeah, right here, this app. We mentioned this Find Your Path app. This is spectacular. If you don't have it on your phone, seriously, you need to get this on your phone. One of the best things about it are the maps. So this does a great job if you're out hiking and maybe you have a little nervousness about getting lost on the trails. This pinpoints you and it shows you right where you're at on the map. So that's one of the things I absolutely love about it. But this is a great way to get connected. So to touch on that kind of lack of purpose, where am I going in my career, in my life, with my family, with my friends, all the things that are available to you here in Cleveland Metroparks are going to be on this app. So maybe you want to go on a hike and you want to meet new people. Sure, it'll be great if you learn a couple birds and some wildflowers, but you just kind of want to be out and around people. Hop on one of these programs, like Min said, we have a lot of, free programming. Oh, goodness. That was an anxiety bubble, so I'm just going to drink my water. Excuse me. I'm feeling better. So group hikes, set goals. One of the things that I did this year was, well, it was quiet until I told all of you in this presentation. I set a 52-week goal for hiking. So each week I go and do 1 hike and I journal it and I write it out. And it has been so refreshing to see that list grow. And look back and I see these notes. And actually, Matt, I just had an idea for your comment about like when the wildflowers are coming out in the trees. I put those notes in my journal. So next year I can remember bluebells are coming, or this is when the turkey vultures are coming back. So that's a great connection that you can make there. So you can set those goals. But one of my favorite things to do is to participate in citizen science. So actually, if we go to the next slide, Min, our final slide, here's a bunch of resources that we've put together for you. This very last one, citizen science. And I have this link here for something called iNaturalist. So what you can do with iNaturalist is another app that you put on your phone when you're out hiking around. Say you don't know what those big yellow flowers are. You don't know what the red bird is. You can take a picture of it and upload it to this app where people crowdsource other folks who love nature, want to be outside enjoying it, help identify what that animal is or that plant, and then they post underneath it. So you can start to learn what's going on around you. Matt uses iNaturalist. Excellent. Isn't it spectacular?
Yes. Yeah, it makes me feel so enlightened. Like I see things all the time, especially birds and flowers, and I don't recognize them. And I can upload a photo and I input the location, the geo filter, and
Yep.
sooner or later, someone in that community identifies it for me. And I feel more educated about what wildlife is around us.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You can learn, you can be part of a global community. This is global, all over the world, connecting each other, trying to figure out biodiversity or the different numbers and different types of species of plants, animals, fungus, all that kind of stuff all over the world. And it's exciting. There's some apps you can do it where you like gain little badges and you get these little credits. So if you're the kind of person that likes a little bit of competition, it's really fun to do that as well, to use that app. So those are the three main things that I kind of wanted to share with you and talk to you a little about, give you those tangible practices that you can go out the next time you're feeling kind of low or you feel like you just need to get outside. Go try one of those things, see if it helps you. But mostly I want to kind of conclude and wrap back to what Min was saying. We're here to meet you where you're at. So if you come to the park and you're like, I need to know where the warblers are, there's going to be a naturalist who can help you out with identifying warblers and tell you where they're going to be. But if you come to the park and you go, I've had a week, what's a good place to go hike? Like heads are going to pop out, chairs are going to roll out, be like, I have got a trail for you. We're all here to help you. We all understand the health benefits of being outside, and we want to share that with you guys as well. So thank you. Thank you so much. That's it for my part. If there's any questions, Matt, can we check and see if anybody wants to jump in?
So yeah, thank you both so much for this presentation. I think it was informative and also full of good life pro tips about incorporating nature in the outdoors into our daily lives and giving us, more information about some of the hidden gems within the metro parks that are not so distant from any of us here in Cuyahoga County or beyond. I did want to open it up for any questions that anyone may have. Feel free to put those in the chat. I am also going to put in the chat the evaluation link. Please do complete that for this presentation. We really appreciate it. It should take you 1 to 3 minutes of your time. Real simple. We appreciate your honest feedback. The feedback that we receive in these evaluations becomes part of what gets reported to our funders, the funders that support our programs, and it's what allows us to continue to do programs like this free of charge to the general community. So feel free to, or please do complete that evaluation. I'm looking at it now. I'm going to put it in the chat one more time. Looks like we're getting a few coming in, but there's 9 of us here. So if I could get all 9, that would be great. Again, any questions for Min or Beth before we conclude tonight? We'll just allow a minute, 30 seconds to see if anyone wants to share anything. Trying to think if I have any final questions. There is something that wasn't talked about so much in the presentation, but I keep hearing more about the therapeutic qualities of gardening. Is that something that, is there any sort of information about that, or any recommendations about, let's say someone wanted to get into gardening a little bit, if you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I've also heard about the therapeutic effects. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, Matt, because when I Googled I was like, oh, when you Google the positive effects of nature on health, the list is long and extensive. And then I Googled the positive effects of indoor life just to see what came up. And you know what comes up is plants, indoor plants.
Yeah.
So it goes along with gardening though, right? Because these plants and gardening go hand in hand, and I have a lot of indoor plants, but I can attest there is some research on gardening as well. I just have some personal items about gardening in that during last year, I never gardened before, and I started for work because I was, it became part of my job, and I love it. And I did feel a lot better after gardening and just pulling weeds and the routine of just getting rid of, and you can tangibly see your work, right? I mean, you could say, okay, I planted this and now it's full grown. And you feel that sense of what Beth was saying, that sense of accomplishment, of purpose, of like, I grew this and I'm going to take care of it. So I don't have any research to cite for you, but I can tell you from doing it for the first time last year, it works. So
yeah, and the part about houseplants is interesting too. There's a certain kind of joy and comfort from having other living things in the house, especially for someone like me that my schedule doesn't permit me to have a pet. So my peace lily is my substitute pet, and she's blooming again this year, which is very nice. So there's something to be said for that as well, just surrounding ourselves with green life, even within our own domiciles, within our own domestic spaces. Having a Dracaena or a pothos or some of those hard to kill houseplants for even amateur plant dads like me is great. Yeah, so thank you for commenting on that. If there are no further questions, I believe we can end a little early. Thank you all so much. Thank you to Min and Beth for being so generous with your time and your expertise to provide us with this presentation. Thank you to those of you that attended. We really appreciate your presence. Please do complete the evaluation. I'll also send an email tomorrow with the slides from this presentation so that you have those beautiful photos and the information contained in those slides as well. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.